All right, well, how to engage every donor every time from FormusPro, Click, and Microsoft Elevate. So who am I and why am I talking? My name is James. I am the head of marketing at FormusPro. We are a Microsoft partner. We operate obviously in the UK, as you can probably tell, and also the US, but we are co-presenting this one today with our friends from Click.
And hi, everyone. My name is Anne Zemlicka-Hayes. I'm a pre-sales engineer here at Click. I've been focusing on marketing automation for 10 years now with Click and looking forward to talking to you today about engaging donors.
So yeah, what are we going to be talking about? So it's a captive audience. You're on a webinar. You're going to get 30 seconds of who are FormusPro and who are Click. That's just tough. Unfortunately, it's the cost of these webinars. I'm then going to give a big thank you to Microsoft Elevate, who you probably know is the Tech for Social Impact team. We're going to very briefly discuss why segmentation is important, and we're then going to go through the 17 different donors. That's going to be a interesting mix of psychology, which is what 50% of marketing is, and then marketing automation. So how to trigger these people and then how to actually use automation to back that up. So FormusPro, who are we and why should you listen to us? Well, we were actually founded back in 2012 in the UK by our founder, Glenn, who is still our CEO. And he actually had what I like to think is quite an ambitious goal. So he'd worked for several tier one partners, and he didn't like how non-profits were treated by those partners. And what he'd found was many software partners would accidentally get a non-profit client just by accident and not really know what to do with them. You speak a very tribal language, you have very different problems, you have very different needs. It's not a small sector, it's not niche by any means, but it is very different. There's a reason it gets called the third sector sometimes. And it didn't help the software companies, it didn't help the non-profits. So FormusPro was actually founded to handle the non-profit sector. In fact, Anthony Nolan, our first client, is still a client today. I want to verify at this point that's not on the same project. We are not 13 years late delivering it. It has been 13 years of continuous improvement, but about 60% of our clients are non-profit, and we live and breathe this sector. There's a bit of proof here. The Down Syndromes Association, Anthony Nolan, Rethink Mental Illness. There's a lot of UK charities there that you may or may not recognise. The National Holocaust Centre, Duke of Edinburgh Awards. This is something we live, we breathe, and we are more than happy to help. And to be honest, if you reach out to me on LinkedIn or you contact us via the website, we'll probably talk a lot about this just for free, because we enjoy helping the non-profit sector. But that's enough about FormusPro. Annie, who are Click?
Yes, thank you. Click is automated marketing tools for dynamic CRM. So think of something that is installed directly into that. It's a native solution, and it allows you to update your contact or member records in real time. It has your customer information all there, and it's used right within that solution. But we focus here on marketing and automated marketing and being able to use that seamlessly with Microsoft tools. So looking forward to talking to you more about that today.
That's what a big coincidence. It's you focus on marketing, and today's webinar is about marketing. That
Yes.
works out well. Microsoft Elevate. Now, you probably know these people as the Tech for Social Impact team, part of Microsoft Philanthropy, so the non-profit arm of Microsoft. They have recently, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, changed their name. Some of you may have seen it on the news, some of you may not have. Microsoft Elevate will still be handling non-profits. It is their core focus, but they're now folding in what's known as K-13 and under education, school children basically up to what I would call college age over here in the UK, so 18. I'm presuming it's going to be, we'd say college and then straight to university. I know the timescales work slightly different in the States, but it's basically people that are still in compulsory education. And their mission, you can see it there, empower every person and every organisation on the planet to achieve more. That just makes sense, folding education into that, because actually if you're empowering people, it doesn't start any better than the education sector. Are we building machines to replace people or help people thrive? It fits right in with their mission. They talk about this a lot better than I do, so I'm not going to spend too long doing that. So skipping through, because these will be on the slide, supporting mission-driven organizations. So you can see that they've given 4 billion global donation commitment, 20 million AI credentials by 2027, and they want a launch of the AI Economy Institute. Very, very laudable goals. Moving on though, because this is why you're really here, let's talk automation. And I think this is probably quite an obvious truth that we all realize. at least deep down, but quite a few of us, if we're honest, probably struggle to act on. One size donor strategies don't fit everyone. They don't work anymore.
That's right. Donors are people. They're not transactions. They're not just email addresses, right? They're not entries into your CRM. And people can be messy. They're driven by different values. They have different emotions, different life stages, and they really need different kinds of connections to appeal to them.
Yeah, if we start treating everyone the same, assume they've got the same asks, the same journeys, the same
Mhm.
timing, I tell you what happens. They're going to drift, they're going to churn, they're going to disconnect. Much like software companies dealing with non-profits when they shouldn't, it's the same with donors. If you treat everyone the same and assume they have the same needs, it's not a lasting journey.
Right. And it's really not because they don't care.
Nope.
It's just we haven't shown them what we do or what you do. So instead of thinking in terms of how should I get a donation, think about, what kind of journey is this person on and where are we meeting them with that journey?
Yeah. And that's the shift that makes the difference from donation to journey. That's what a modern donor engagement should be all about. And that's hopefully, he touches wood quite quickly, what today will all be about for you. So I'm hoping you get to take away some key points. So if we agree that one size doesn't fit all anymore, it doesn't work, if it ever did, if we're being completely honest, the next question is, why is that the case now more than ever, though? Why has it suddenly become such a burning issue?
Well, the nonprofit space isn't sitting still. Fundraising teams have a perfect storm, right? There's more noise, there's more channels to be involved in, way more channels than there ever were in the past. And there's way fewer resources to help deal with that.
Do you think so? Marketing and
Mhm.
non-profit teams don't have enough resources. Quick thumbs up. Who doesn't have enough resources? I'm going to be really disappointed. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I was going to be super disappointed if we didn't get a flood of thumbs up there. But it's absolutely right. Audiences are splintered. Some people are going to respond emotionally, others are going to want to respond to facts and figures. Some people are going to check their emails daily. Some people are going to log into social media every 10 minutes, not guilty. Others are going to completely ignore it. Timing, motivation, channel, background noise, it's all completely fragmented.
Exactly. In that kind of environment, microsegmentation isn't really a nice to have. It's the only way that you're going to stay relevant. So, and this is key, it has to be achievable. You can't throw more people at the problem just to solve it.
No, and that's one of the things I want to talk about today. It's scoping out a problem and saying, oh, it's really difficult these days is
Mhm.
great. But if you're not offering solutions to it, then you're just adding to the stress. And making it all work, as I've already said, the shrinking budgets and rising expectations. And that is the difficult one. I like to call it the Amazon problem. So I ordered a package last week and it told me it was going to be 3 days. I got terribly offended, don't you know? What do you mean a package was going to take 3 days to arrive? And that's Amazon's fault. They've spoilt us. I can jump on Uber Eats and have takeout at my house in half an hour. I can jump on Netflix and have programs instantly shown to me that I know I'm going to enjoy. Donor expectation has never been higher. They want a personalized donor journey. And that's weird because in the olden days, I say the olden days, you're looking at my white beard, 10 years ago, you could just put some money in a donation tin and that'd be it. But donors expect a personalized journey these days, and that's hard.
It is. And that's why we're not just talking about theory today, but we really want to show you actually how to do this, how to use smart tools like Microsoft's AI and automation to personalize without burning out your teams and not needing a huge team to do it.
Yeah. And in fact, we did a webinar a month or two ago about avoiding burnout on your teams. I'll send that video out afterwards. Absolutely look that up on a YouTube channel because it's well worth watching, how to avoid burnout in sort of nonprofits. Let's talk about how to respond to these challenges. Scoping them out is one thing, but how do we respond to them? The answer isn't just do more. It has to be work smarter. The whole point of AI, right? And for me, the fundamental level with increasing donations and reducing donor churn is starting with personas.
hmm Personas is where your strategy really starts to feel real. It's not about just using marketing jargon. Those personas will help you make decisions about who to target right away. What message should you use for that person or that persona? And where do we send it? How do we meet them with the right channel in marketing?
Absolutely. Without personas, everything's just guesswork. And I have this conversation with my team quite a lot. Actually, once you've been working in marketing for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I respect your gut instinct. I respect your gut work, because just saying, oh, I think this will work is actually valid. It's based on 20 years worth of experience. But if you can back that up with data as well, you're just making your lives a lot easier. So instead of throwing the same message at everyone and hoping something sticks, you can then start to really understand with automation who your donors really are, how to connect with them in ways that actually matter to them.
Well, and just like every person is different, every donor has different motivation. Some are going to be driven by their emotions, some by what the impact of the donation is, some by their identity, or even pressure from peers. We all respond the best through different channels, right? Whether that be email, social, direct mail, WhatsApp, different events.
I couldn't agree more. I get really offended when I get contacted through WhatsApp. I'm sort of like, how dare you contact me via WhatsApp? That's for my friends. But it's becoming a very valid channel. And actually, we've developed some IP around non-profits messaging people through WhatsApp, if anybody's interested in that. Again, talk to me about that after the call, or I'm going to get distracted again. But personas are going to help you map out those wants and those needs. Think of them as shortcuts. They take all that complexity and give you very clear paths forward. Once you know who you're targeting, and it may be that you don't need the full 17 personas that we scope out today. Your demographic may only be 3 or 4 or 5 of them. But once you know that, the path forward just becomes a lot easier. So instead of asking, what campaign should I send? The question actually begins, what journey should this person be on? And how do I start that?
And that's the shift in your mindset that we're here to help with today, understanding those personas and how to communicate with them.
Yes. Without further ado, we're now going to throw some sort of, pop psychology, human psychology at you, and hopefully back it up with some real insights on the marketing automation. So let's start with the easiest, the one donor we are all going to relate to, the one donor we'll all have, the lapsed donor. These are the people who have supported you before, but have since just disappeared. They've gone quiet, walked off the edge of the world. They're not strangers. They did believe in your cause once, and that's powerful.
It's really powerful. And the key psychological trigger here is nostalgia. You want to remind them not just that they gave, but why they gave, what it meant to them, what the impact was when they gave.
Absolutely. And that's where your automation with this donor should really. So if nostalgia is their trigger point, automation is where you can really grab them. So I would recommend, you're not going to be able to do this yourself unless you really enjoy manual tasks, but surface your CRM through AI and understand what their last point of contact with you was. Was it a campaign that they gave to, an event they intended, a thank you email that they might have clicked? Find that information out.
And then once you've got that, you can use marketing automation tools to trigger a personalized re-engagement journey, right? So something like, here's what happened since you last donated. Here's what we've been up to, or look what your support actually made possible. It's not about inciting guilt, right? It's about reconnecting with them about how they felt.
A little bit of guilt's probably okay.
Maybe
if we're being cynical. But yes, reconnection is the word. And don't think of this persona as new. This persona, to put it in sales term, is a warm lead. Not a lost one, not a dead lead. It's a warm lead. The right message at the right moment, a lapsed donor can absolutely become a loyal one again. And automation should be helping with that. Donor number 2, the rage donor. Now, this is an interesting one. A rage donor is a bit of a misnomer. They're not, well, at least some of them aren't angry. So rage donors act in the moment. They respond to emergencies or injustices. To give an example, the Japanese typhoon of a decade ago now? Gosh, time's gone quick there. That would be people donating to that. It would be a rage donor. It's people want, and the trigger for this donor is going to be 2 things. It's a sense of control and it's timing. When something big happens in the world, it makes people feel unsafe. It makes them feel uncomfortable, and they want to reclaim a sense of control over that. A really easy way to do that is to donate to the cause. It's this terrible thing has happened. I can't do anything about it. Here's some money. Right, in my head, I feel better now. So the trick here is speed. Unfortunately, the non-profit space is incredibly noisy, but you can use your marketing automation tools when something horrible happens to throw up a donation page really quickly. Promote it through your social media, get some emails out. The quicker you have a landing page that people can donate onto over your competitors, the bigger an edge you'll have.
And this is one of those ones that you can't control, right? You can't control these. So what you can control, what's in your control, is how quickly you can respond. Be ready for these things. Have approval streamline and a comms team that can really pivot with it to help you market to these.
Absolutely. Speed is the name of the game with these. Quite difficult to plan into your marketing, but well worth for those surges in donations to have into your back pocket so you can then turn them into other kinds of donors afterwards. So the once and done donor, as we call them, this probably feels painfully familiar to all of you when you look at your CRM. They've given once, maybe during a big campaign, maybe just randomly, maybe just because a friend asked them to, maybe because you've got no idea if you're being completely honest with yourselves, and then poof, they've just gone, disappeared.
Honestly, they've probably forgotten you, right? It's not because they don't care, but it wasn't a lasting connection. So we need to continue to trigger their curiosity and give them a reason to remember why they gave in the first place.
And that is the key with this donor. It is curiosity. So post-donation automation is really helpful. So things like, and it sounds simple, but thank you message, maybe an intro into your work. The real magic with this persona, though, happens later as you start to move them into different cohorts of donor persona.
Right. A few months down the line, you follow up with something like, here's what your donation actually made possible, and tie it to the campaign that they originally supported. It's probably unexpected from them, but it's personal and it creates a new emotional outlook for that once and done donor.
Yeah. That delayed impact update, it can be automated, so you can trigger that the second they give their donation to appear 2, 3, 6 months later. Automated and personalized, it's what's going to shift this donor from a once and done into a second time giver, into a third, fourth, fifth time giver. And as we know, getting that second gift dramatically increases the long-term value of a donor and probably turns them into a, if not a lifetime giver, certainly a long-term giver. So talking about long-term givers, legacy donors, they need to be treated gently, they need to be treated respectfully, but these are vitally important. We're not talking about $5 donations here. These are the donations that can really make a difference. But this isn't somebody who's just thinking about making an impact this year. This is somebody who's thinking about what they are leaving behind, what their legacy is going to be.
Right. And for these legacy donors, it's really not just about the cause, it's about an alignment to their values. They want to feel that your organization carries their beliefs forward, even when they're not going to be here to see it any longer.
Yeah, and because of that, your tone and your timing are essential. This isn't the donor you hammer with weekly messages or aggressive campaigns. This is about a light touch, meaningful contact. It's storytelling, it's long-term vision, and most importantly, it's trust. You have to engender a sense of trust in this one.
And keep in mind, if you're automating comms or automating things through the channels, it's less about how often you do that and more about how relevant it's going to be to them, right? You might want to automate, periodic updates about your strategic goals and milestones, stories of long-term change. You should stay in touch, but legacy donors need to feel that the organization is stable and future-proof in order to leave their legacy with it.
And if somebody is considering a gift in their will, they're also considering whether you're still going to be around to deliver on your mission. That's what you're reinforcing with every message that you send to this person. You can trust us with your legacy. And we're talking marketing automation. It's probably a good point to just throw up here. We're more than happy to help you build out these personas with your own CRM and then actually implement this marketing automation for you. So feel free to reach out to either myself or Annie or Click or FormusPro. And this isn't just take this away, desperately scrambling to make notes and do it yourself. We can do 90%, if not all of this for you. So another easy one, subscription donors. One of my absolute favorites. It's the bedrock of every nonprofit. This is the person who will give regularly, monthly, reliably, and quietly. But because of that, probably gets overlooked because they're not the most flashiest, sexiest donor. They're not a difficult cohort to try and get back, but actually they are really useful and the bedrock of what you're trying to do.
They are. They're gold to you. They bring stability, right? So they're going to let you plan. They trust you enough to stick around and continue to donate over and over. And the key to keeping that relationship strong is your consistency in both giving and communication, keeping up with those subscription donors the entire time.
Yep. And sorry, I'm going to jump back to legacy donors just for a second. So somebody's asked quite an interesting question. So legacy donors will drift if the organization hasn't stayed true to its mission or communicated why the organization's mission has shifted. Absolutely 100%. So and there's 2 points there. If your organization's mission has changed, you need to communicate that really effectively, or you're going to lose a load of legacy donors that you were probably expecting on. And we've all seen those nonprofits in the news where they've been hit with a PR scandal. I'm not going to name any names here, clearly. If something like that happens, it's not just about fixing your PR. It's also about fixing your legacy donors. You need to explain that and show what you've done to rectify that, or you're going to find they go to a different nonprofit. Where were we with subscription donors? So how do we... So if these are the standard donors, these are our bread and butter, how do we use automation to do the serious heavy lifting with them? So monthly emails, it's a given. Messages that show here's what your support has achieved this month. And actually, if you want to extend that journey, because we all know every donor has a life cycle, if you want to extend that out, it's very much it's not a, oh, thanks for your $5, $10, $50. It's a very much a, this is what your $5, $10, $50 has done this month. Make it real, make it human, and tie it to a story.
And that story can continue to evolve over time, right?
Of course.
Once that trust is built, you can gradually introduce more, invite them to events, ask for feedback, plant the seed for a small increase in their gift for maybe a project coming up. We're not pushing, we're deepening the relationship.
Best part of the subscription donor, or at least the best part for me, is once you've built that automation flow, it's going to work quietly in the background for you. It's going to nurture long-term support without adding pressure to your team, because it can just be set up and done with quite a light touch. But the goal is turning subscription donors into legacy donors. It's expanding that life cycle through to as long as you can.
And keep in mind, the subscription donor isn't just giving, they're investing. And your job is to keep showing them why that investment is worth it to them throughout the entire process.
100%. So the corporate donor, bit of a boring one, but we all know there's quite a bit of money involved in. So it's a completely different mindset, both on their side and yours. So we're not talking about a single person here. There's no heartstrings to tug. We're dealing with boards. You are dealing with strategy, you are dealing with suits, you are dealing with reputation, and you are dealing with internal politics. Quite different to 99% of your normal donation paths, I would think.
Very different. And, corporate giving is rarely emotional as well. It's about alignment. Does your cause fit their goals? Can they tell a compelling story about the partnership, something they can share with their staff, their shareholders, or even to customers to show that they are giving?
It's a great point. What the corporate donors are going to want is be able to use their donation to further their aims. So that makes your job different too. This isn't about monthly emails or emotional appeals. Your job is to make your corporate donor look good and feel aligned.
And that's where automation plays a really practical role in this. Instead of reminders, you're delivering ready-to-use assets, branded impact reports, press release templates, stats they can drop into internal comms or social posts. How is their giving affecting, and how can they share that with the world?
Absolutely. And I'm loving the comments coming in. Love corporate donors for employee volunteering, ops, matching gifts, and tapping into business knowledge, i.e. board recruitment. Quick press of the heart button for everyone that loves a good corporate donor. And if you really want to impress a corporate donor, show them how your mission supports their brand story, not just your own.
And when you do that, what happens is it becomes a partnership. It's not a one-off donation. That's how you move from thanks for the check to long-term strategic funding through these corporations.
And who doesn't love long-term funding? Because that's actually where you
Everyone
can
loves
start.
it.
Well, long-term funding, so your subscription donors and your corporate donors is where you can really start budgeting and planning. One-off donors are nice, but they're very hard to rely on. So the peer pressure donor, this poor guy, it's a little tricky, this one. These are the people who gave but didn't want to.
Right. So maybe a colleague is fundraising or a friend sent you a link. This happens to me all the time, especially with like the birthday fundraising on Facebook. Gets me every time. Or maybe they were at an event, they didn't feel they could say no. It's donation because of social friction, and they often really don't feel connection to the cause afterwards.
Yeah, I got hit with one of Annie's colleagues the last month. He was running a 10K race,
Yep.
and I was sort of like, well, I work with this guy, so I kind of have to donate. I'd never heard of the charity, and I'm sure it was a good cause, but I'd never thought of them before. And I'm actually sitting here now feeling really bad. I can't remember who they were, but that's the point of this donor. They are a subset of the once and done donor. And in your CRM, they're going to look the same, which makes your job really tricky, because reaching out emotionally to this person isn't going to help you, because they've already got a negative feeling towards you because they were forced into their donation. And if it's not negative, they've got no idea who you were.
Yeah, and that's where A/B testing, behavior tracking can really help, right? Do they open follow-ups? Do they actually click anything? Are they unsubscribing right away? You need to experiment with these to learn what doesn't work just as much as what does work.
Yes, and it's all about labeling them. The more data you can get on these people in your CRM, the better it is. And AI will help you surface this. And then you can start segmenting those cohorts and say, right, this group is once and done. Of that, I think these were the peer pressure donors. So once you've figured that out, you know how to start triggering them. And the key with this is a really aggressive, really offensive charm and impact offensive. Show them what their gift made possible. Thank them as warmly as you can. Invite them into your story, but don't push too hard. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, and it is a little bit, but that's how you get this donor.
Exactly. You're trying to flip the emotional script on them from I gave because I've had to actually, I'm really glad I did give. And that takes empathy. It takes the right timing and really thoughtful automation. So these can be a bit tricky.
They can, but if you win them over, what a bragging right, and what a loyal supporter. You've taken someone who was barely in the room and turned them into a supporter by choice. And that kind of loyalty tends to stick. The research donor. Now, if the last donor gave reluctantly, this one ain't going to give at all until they've done all their homework on you.
Right. This person is going to read every page on your site. They're going to check your financials, your leadership bios, your charity navigator score. You may even have them look at your company's house records if you're in the UK.
This donor's psychological drive, their trigger for yourselves, is certainty and control. They don't want to be emotionally swayed, and they won't be. What they want is evidence. Where does the money go? Who's accountable? What impact are you actually delivering? And they're going to look like a regular subscription donor, but this is where you need to start applying psychology to your CRM and actually building out your cohorts with A/B testing and going, look, these are all my subscription donors. I think, though, of these people I'm going to add a tag to, and probably I think they're research donors. And then you send out test campaigns and figure out what works and what doesn't, so you can then fully label them up. Right, Annie?
Yes. And if you're using solutions that allow you to see who goes to what web pages, how long they're there, you can easily see who some of these research donors are. And that does help. But how do we meet them where they are? Well, we let their behavior tell us what they need. So again, those pages, you're going to read impact. They're looking at your impact reports, things like that. Or maybe they're continuing to come back multiple times. And if you're using a solution where you can see that, that's going to be your signal that they are a research donor.
By gosh, if only there was some marketing automation out there that would do that.
Do we know one of those?
I'm pretty sure we do. But
We
yeah,
do.
you take a look at all your subscription donors. You then say to them, okay, well, which person has read every single on my site? Who is looking at all my impact statements? And that's then when your automation kicks in. Once you have that data on them, which actually with AI is really easy to get, you can trigger follow-ups based on behavioral cues, like repeat visits or time spent on high info pages. So if somebody has spent 3 hours reading your last impact report, you better be triggering an email to them.
Exactly. And then make sure you're serving them what they're looking for. Send things like white papers, third-party validations, outcome reports, and testimonials from credible sources. You're not persuading them, you're proving to them why they should be a donor.
Yeah. And then once you've got them convinced, they're not only going to give, but I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, they're going to stay loyal because you have serviced their need. You have satisfied that need for hyper personalization. You've identified what they are and you've given it to them. So next, the impact seeker. And we're going to come back to this one with a couple of other personas, but this is the top level. Again, it falls a little bit into your subscription donor. You need to notify within your subscription who are the impact seekers. Now, these can be the most rewarding and, frankly, the easiest of segments to work with. And they are all about one thing: results.
Yeah, they're not here for warm fuzzies. They want to see the outcomes. They want to see the direct effect of their donation. Did the project get completed? Were lives changed? Did something measurable happen? And did you show me what that was?
Yeah, and once they see that impact, they're yours. This persona is incredibly loyal when they believe their money is actually going towards somewhere meaningful, when it's changing the world.
Right. And from a marketing automation perspective, this is where data storytelling comes into play. Dynamic content blocks and emails are really great to use here. You can automatically pull in things like project stats, progress bars, before and after numbers, whatever tells the story clearly. But if you're using dynamic content in your emails, you can see what impact they're looking for, track that, and then show them the right information in the emails when you send it.
Does everybody on the call know what a dynamic content block is, by the way? So I'm going to apologize to everyone if I'm talking down now. Were you aware that you could send out the same email to every single person in your CRM, but have segments of it change depending on the keyword that you've got assigned to them, so that some people see this, they'll all see the same email, but certain sections of it will change. So whether it's a download or whether it's a messaging, depending on whether they're a legacy donor or an impact seeker or a regular subscriber. If only there was some marketing automation tools that we knew with dynamic content blocks built into their emails.
I think I know one.
Oh gosh, this is tricky. This is, Annie. So you don't need to write a novel as much as I'm talking. A simple, here's what your $25 helped achieve this month with real figures can be more powerful than an entire newsletter. But you can then do this, you can send that email out at the same time as sending another one out, and it all just becomes super easy.
And keep in mind, impact seekers are looking for that ROI. They want a return on their generosity. So give them the numbers, show them the wins. They'll not only stick around, but they'll often start to give more when they see that.
Yeah, this cohort, more than any other, is so much easier to slowly tick up their donation over time. Okay, so the activist donor. This is an interesting one. Now, for this donor, this group, the donation, it's a side quest. It's not the main goal.
Exactly. You know, these people are people who see giving as just one part of how they can drive change. They might be marching, lobbying, petitioning, sharing things on social media. And yes, they're going to occasionally donate too.
But the donating is very much a byproduct, right? So that means the messaging can't be about you. For the activist donor, the messaging has to be about them, their identity, their values, and the movement that they want to be a part of.
So thinking about this, how do we approach it with automation? You flip that journey. Instead of asking them to give first, you invite them to act, sign a petition, attend an event, join a campaign, right? And once they're engaged, you can automate giving as the next step of that journey.
And when they feel part of something active and growing, they're going to be much more likely to contribute again. Not because you ask them to, but because it's part of their personality and they feel it matters.
Mhm. It does. And the more they start to feel a part of something and they're active and growing with it, the more likely they are to contribute again. Not because you asked, but because they really do believe that it matters.
100%. So next one, match giver. Now I'm going to show my ignorance here, but I'm assuming the match donor is going to happen just in the US as much as the UK. This is the person who loves the idea of getting. Thank you for the thumbs up there. It's always nice to know I'm on the right track. These people are driven by impact, but through the lens of amplification.
Exactly. Matching campaigns, whether through a corporate partner. I know there's a number of companies that I've worked for that have matching campaigns, or if there's another major donor or an event like Giving Tuesday, they're like rocket fuel for this persona because they think if I give $50 and it becomes 100, why wouldn't I do this? It's going to have more impact if I do it now.
Of course. And from a marketing perspective, it's a great opportunity to bring urgency and clarity into play. So it's less about the emotional pull and it's more about the value proposition. It's, well, actually, you have to download this. You have to donate this month because this is the only month where we can benefit from doubling your donation. So have at it.
But we can also automate that too, right? So we can set up journeys that trigger when a match campaign is live. So really understanding when those campaigns are live, when there's large corporate donors willing to match, then you can use smart segmentation to find donors who've responded to something like this before and have high potential but low engagement.
Yes. And there has been a couple of comments in the chat about a lot of these donor personas being quite similar with a lot of overlap. And they absolutely are. And this is where you have to segment them. And it may be that one donor will be in 3 or 4 different cohorts and will receive different campaigns at different times because they can be more than one thing. But you setting your marketing automation up right lets you benefit from the both. So somebody may be a long-term donor, but may also be a match donor. So they may get a different, they may get your legacy campaign stuff, but they also may get your match doning time. And so automating those personalized messages for this one, at least along match donors, your donation today will be doubled. Help us unlock the match by midnight. Even add in progress bars, countdown timers, any little clicks, anything like that, just to reinforce that urgency.
Keep in mind, this donor already wants to help, right? You're just showing them how to get maximum impact for their money. And something I found, especially in the US, is that a lot of people don't even realize that their company will match. So sometimes it's a matter of letting these people know that, did you know many companies match donations? Take a look at what your company provides today. Just giving them that information will also help.
Fundraising and sales should never really be compared, but they do have a lot of similarities. And the number one rule of sales is you don't ask, you don't get. So the social proof donor, not a massive fan of this one myself, but I think that's where my sort of millennial bias is showing slightly. For this one, timing is everything. They don't just want impact, although they are very similar to the impact donor. What they are looking for is validation.
And I always think back to this example. I don't know how many of you remember the ice bucket challenge. But
you're showing your age there now, Annie. Thank you. I'm not just the only one.
That does really age me. But this donor is influenced by momentum, and there was a lot of momentum there. But they're also looking at things like if a celebrity or influencer publicly supports the cause, or if they see other friends dumping ice over their friends, right? That's going to create a spark and get them to continue to do that.
But that's the point, isn't it? It's a spark, and sparks fade fast. Your response, much like the rage donor, so weirdly they're quite similar to the impact donor, but also to the rage donor. You have to be fast. You need to be immediate. So when that moment hits, when Beyonce endorses your non-profit, when for whatever reason a post of yours goes viral, you need to have a landing page ready to go and a comms flow ready to launch like that.
Automation can help you do that, right? Without all of the scrambling too. So you could set up trigger-based journeys for moments like this, include pre-written thank yous, instant social sharing prompts would be very important in something like that. And visible metrics like 2,000 people have donated so far today, because they're looking for that. They're looking for, are other people donating? Is this going to validate me on social? And that's what they need to find.
and I'm just going to try and make sure I've got that all straight in my head. So do we know a marketing automation tool that has trigger-based journeys and pre-written thank yous, instant social sharing
I feel
prompts?
like Click does. Yeah.
Excellent. Good to know. But you're not just asking for a donation with this person, right? You're inviting them to be part of something bigger than themselves, bigger right now, though. And so for this group, it's that now that matters. Miss the window, miss the donor, and who knows what they could have turned into in the future.
Right. So track your trends, prep your assets, let the automation amplify the buzz, and do it while it's still buzzing. The big buzz right now is the big engagement. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. Think about it. I've already seen posts about that all over social about Taylor supports this campaign. So keep in mind, being ready for those things is very helpful.
I really want to take the mick for you being a Taylor Swift fan, but I kind of have to admit it as a guilty pleasure. So we're going to swiftly move on to the tribute donor. So tribute donor. Now I should probably stop laughing and joking about this one because you have to be really careful with this one. A tribute donor is obviously somebody who is given in honor of or memory of another person. It is going to be one of, even more than a legacy donor, one of the most emotionally charged donation stories that you're ever going to tell.
It's not about campaigns or impact metrics either. It's about commemoration. They're driven by love, grief, gratitude, right? And a desire to really help keep someone's memory alive.
Yes. That means that your approach needs to be different. It needs to be gentle. It needs to be respectful. And as much as I've been talking about hyper-personalization, it needs to be personal. This isn't because they're going to look like a once and done donor if you're not careful. And if you go in all guns blazing, you're going to get it wrong. This is the segment. This isn't the segment for generic messaging or upsell tactics at all.
Right. But keep in mind, automation can still play a powerful role. It should feel handwritten, not mechanical, right? Think personalized tribute pages with the honoree's name, maybe a photo or message, follow-ups that acknowledge important dates like birthdays or anniversaries. Those things will really help as well.
Yeah. And actually, giving somebody that option when they donate to create a tribute page. It's why are you donating this money? Would you like to create a tribute page? Yes, please. You could even set it for you donated more than $100. Well, actually, that's probably a tribute. So do you want this option that you can then share on social media so friends and family can share it as well? Actually, as they're setting that up, why are you setting up a tribute page? Who was it for? What was their date of birth? What was the date of unfortunately, their death? And once you have that information in your CRM, as cynical as it is, in a year's time, you can send them an email. And it's not even a request for a donation. It could be we're thinking of you today. That can make a huge impact on somebody's life. They're grieving their husband or their wife. It's the anniversary of their death. And a year later, they get an email from you just saying, look, are you okay? Give us a call if you need to talk. That's hugely powerful. Just
it really is.
Yeah, you remember them.
And from a practical side, you can automate prompts for others to donate to the same tribute, right? Allowing friends and families to come together around a person that they are all honoring together.
Yeah. Handled well, tribute donors are hands down the easiest to turn into legacy donors. And unfortunately, it's the dark side of fundraising we're talking here. It's a little bit cynical, and I always justify it in my own head as, look, we're doing this to make the world a better place. It's a little bit cynical, but we're doing it for the right reasons. Handled well, this person will become deeply connected to your mission, not because you asked them, but because you held space for someone they loved. I'm not really sure what else we can say there, so I'm going to move on from that one. The membership-minded donor. This one is going to feel very similar to the activist donor, and this is where you need to use psychological tools to separate them out in your CRM. And again, Click and FormusPro are more than happy to help you with that. But where to approach with this one isn't in their actions. They're going to look very similar. It's in their mindset.
Right. They again are going to feel very similar. But activists want to change the system. Membership-minded donors want to feel like they're really a part of it.
Yeah. So rather than changing the system, it's actually, how do I get to join the system, right? They don't want to drive a movement. They want to feel belonging, like they're part of something. They want identity, but more than that, they want access. They want to see their donation as almost as a membership fee. It's a way to belong to something that they care about, whether that's an arts organization, a museum, or a social cause.
And that means that with your automation strategy, it has to lean into inclusion, right? Where are you giving them perks? Send them member only updates. That is where things like conditional sections and emails for just members to see are really important. Invite them to behind the scenes events that are just for the members. Use automation to trigger those touch points based on their engagement levels as well.
And these people are super easy to identify as well. The membership-minded donor is such an easy tag. You send everyone an email out saying, thanks for your donor. You are now registered as a silver level donor. I guarantee you the membership donor will come back to you and go, silver level? What's gold? Is there a platinum? Tell me about diamond. And suddenly you've got a tag in your CRM. And that's the upgrade path for them. Hi, you've been a silver supporter for 12 months now. Here's your early access invite too. That kind of message resonates because they're going to come back to you and go, fantastic, tell me more.
Right. And keep in mind, you're not asking for more money. You're reinforcing their belonging. The more they feel part of your world, the more likely they are to stay and continue to grow in their support.
Yeah, you don't need to ask them more money. They're going to try and give that to you to increase their membership. So whilst activists want the megaphone, your membership-minded donors just want a lanyard, bless them. They both care, but just in very, very different ways. And they're both quite easy to identify. And this is the key to this entire talk, identifying people. So the volunteer donor hybrid, and that is exactly as it sounds. These people aren't giving you their money. They are giving you their time, and probably quite a lot of it already.
That changes the dynamic completely. This person already feels like part of your team. Their donation isn't transactional. It's a continuation of the emotional investment they've already made on the ground.
Yep. And that means your messaging has to reflect that. You are not convincing this person to give. You've already done that. They've given their time. What you're actually doing is acknowledging the value they already bring and just casually laying out a way for them to go even deeper if they so choose. You've got to avoid the guilt. It's a difficult path to walk, but actually if you do it respectfully, it's quite easy. Especially, what's the word we're going to about to say, Annie?
Automation. From an automation standpoint, you can really do some smart things here, right? So trigger the donation journeys off of volunteer milestones. Like you've completed 6 months with us, or thank you for your 20 hours of time this quarter. Here's how your support is changing lives. I regularly volunteer for an organization here where I make meals for families. And they do that really well. They'll say, thank you. You've donated this many meals to this many families, type of thing like that. And seeing that come through really does make you feel like you're a part of something.
Yeah, I'm part of a nonprofit over here in the UK, so I help autistic children with social skills by, believe it or not, looking at the white bearded middle-aged guy, by helping autistic children play Dungeons and Dragons. Who would have guessed it? Teaches them social skills. But I will quite regularly get an email from the organisation with, and I know it's a dynamic block on the email, and it will be their newsletter, and it will be thank you for your, their volunteer newsletter. Thank you for your X amount of sessions you've run this month. And then there'll be a little dynamic block saying, by the way, we could achieve this much more if we just had this much more money. And I'm like, oh, really, guys? Let me go and get my credit card. And it doesn't, and that's the point. It doesn't have to be a hard ask. It could be a soft values-led message. So if you ever decide to support us financially, here's how you could do it. Do you want to be a legacy donor? And here's how you could do it. Here's how to write us into our will. Do you want to set up a subscription? This is how you do that. Respect and recognition go a long, long way with this group.
Right. And keep in mind that the more you personalize those nudges based on how they've put their time in, how they volunteered, whether they're frontline, they're administrative, they're just mentoring, the more powerful that message is going to become to them.
Yeah, they're already bought into your mission. They just need to be invited, not pitched. Two more, I promise. I know we've only got 5 minutes to go, but if you stay those last 5 minutes, I promise you it'll be worth it. So this one, again, it's a lot like the several of the other sort of cohorts that we've talked about. It needs to be approached sensitively. Persona needs to give. They're not giving because they want to. They're giving because of what they believe, not just what your organization does.
Exactly. Their donation is often an act of spiritual duty or moral responsibility. It's part of how they personally live out their values. And it's not always public or loud, but it's deeply meaningful to them.
Yeah, the key to this persona is alignment. Your job isn't to persuade this person. That's been done a long time ago, as they were raised in this faith. They're looking for causes that reflect their faith, whether that be compassion, justice, stewardship, community. And what's interesting is you don't suddenly have to, you can be an agnostic nonprofit, you can be an atheist nonprofit, you can be an Islamic or a Christian or a Hindu or a Jewish nonprofit. It's not about matching their faith, it's matching the ideals of their faith. And most faiths at the core are very simple and very similar. They just want to help the world. So it's less about appealing to their faith directly and more about appealing to their ideals within that faith. And I'm willing to bet, Annie, you've got some ideas on how automation can do that.
I do. So if you're having the information about their religious affiliation or values from past engagements, and use tools that you have like that, ask those questions, understand them so that you can segment them better here. But your language and tone need to match their belief system very respectfully as well.
Absolutely, of course. And you can either ask people these questions when they sign up or when they donate, or you can be a bit smarter about it and watch for donation habits over time. So track religious festivals and holidays in your CRM, Ramadan, Lent, end of year tithing season. Track those, see who gives over at those times, make a note in your CRM, and then trigger automation the year after. Makes this cohort so easy to scale without being overwhelming. Oh, look at that. You always donate at Easter. I'm pretty sure I know your religion. Let's make sure we send you out an email for every Christian holiday that we've got in our calendar. Again, slightly cynical, but the dark side of fundraising.
You should also make sure to consider the content, right? Stories of dignity, hope, transformation work. They work really well here. And these donors often care less about the metrics and the research, but more about moral impact.
100% handled thoughtfully. Faith-based donors can become some of your most loyal and generous supporters. And you don't need to be a faith-based organization yourself. You just need to be respectful and a little bit clever with how you tag people in your CRM. But let's stick with respectful. So moving on to our very last one, the data-driven donor. And yes, I know exactly what you're thinking. James, you've already done this one. You called it the research donor. It's not the same. To be honest, it's a lot more similar to the impact donor. But again, ever so slightly different, which is why you need to label them differently in your CRM.
Yeah, and this persona is actually a blend of both, right? With a very specific focus. While the researcher is trying to decide whether to donate, the data-driven donor is already in, and now they want proof that their donation was well placed based on their research.
Exactly. You could almost consider this one a cross between the research and the impact donor. They've done their research and they're in now, but unlike the impact seeker who's looking for visible outcomes and emotional resonance with a cause, the data-driven donor, say that 3 times fast, is driven by logic, evidence, and measurable performance. They want the KPIs, they want the benchmarks, they want a sense of ROI on their generosity. It's almost a business transaction with them.
Right. And now if you're working with limited segmentation data, these personas, data-driven and impact seeker, might be close enough to combine into one impact focus group. And that's fine, as long as you balance the content between emotional storytelling and factual reporting.
But if you've got a big CRM, if you have thousands, tens of thousands, millions of people in your donors sort of CRM, and fair play to you if you do, and I'm going to pile on the guilt here, are you making the most of it? If you do, you can tell these people apart and the strategy shifts and you react to them differently. For the impact seeker, you are leading with a narrative script. For the data-driven donor, you want to lead with performance. Here's the outcome, the cost per result. Here's how we measured it. This is exactly what we did, business step by business step.
So in terms of, automation, this person responds best to post-donation dashboards. What does it look like? Comparative reports of the donations, progress tracking, and follow-ups that are tied specifically to efficiency and results.
Oh, this is a boring donor, but a very understandable one. They don't want to know just how they helped. They want to know, was their help worth it in sort of bottom dollar? And the more transparent you are, the more they're going to trust you with future gifts.
And, continue to think of them as a rational partner in your mission, not just a supporter, but for them, they're an investor.
Absolutely 1000%. And that was the end of our 17 donors. You have all been very, very patient. A couple of you have dropped off. To the people that have stayed to the end, we have something free for you. Now, a lot of you, I am assuming, have a CRM. I've talked about it a lot. I'm assuming a lot of you pay quite a bit for your CRM. Hands up who wants a free one. Here you go. FlexCRM. So it's some IP built by FormusPro. It's chargeable to the commercial sector, but we give it away free to the non-profit. So come to us with your non-profit designation. Prove to us that you're a registered non-profit. We'll just come and install this for free for you, and you can have the CRM. You can just download it. It's yours. You can either take it now if you're looking around, or just get rid of your own. If you're not sure how to do it, absolutely reach out to me and we will walk you through that. It'll be in the email that we send over to you. But as I said, FormusPro lives and breathes non-profit sector, and we're not going to do a webinar without giving you something back, as well as the pack for 17 personas and how to target them all, of course. But a free CRM seemed a bit cooler. So that was me. That was Annie. It's FormusPro. Reach out to us all on LinkedIn. I tend to be talking non-profit stuff. I tend to be talking AI stuff. Annie, I'm sure you're doing similar. Please connect with us. Please reach out. And we are at that time in the evening where if there's any questions, now's the time to drop them in the chat and we'll go through them. If not, Absolutely. Tell me and Annie how awesome we both were. We're both quite shallow people and we like to hear that, and we will love you all forever. So just quickly checking the questions so far. Will these slides be available after the session? They absolutely are. The data-driven donation donor is a foundational brick. Don't think I've ever called anyone a brick before, but I completely agree. Data-driven donors are bricks. Yep, we all rock. And happy Friday Eve. Whoever posted that, you are awesome and I love you.
Absolutely.
I'm going to hang here a second or so, but it looks like everyone's dropping off. So waiting awkwardly to see if there's any more questions typed. There is not. I will get the video out to you in the next couple of days. Thank you all. And I'm clicking the end button now. So you're about to be hung up on. Thank you.
Have a great day, y'all.